And it's time for your health show this Sunday evening. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Purity Museo. Now, depression is a common mental disorder and one of the main causes of disability worldwide. Globally, an estimated 264 million people are affected by depression, and more women are affected than men. This is according to the World Health Organization. We talk about depression. Our guest is Elmard Rigan. Thank you so much for making time for us this evening. We appreciate your presence here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. We are talking about depression. Most of the time you'll hear phrases like, I am depressed, I am stressed. Is it one and the same thing, or what's the difference between depression and stress?
All right.
Yeah.
So yes, there's a difference between depression and being stressed. So stress is as a result of ongoing thoughts or emotions that you express differently. By and large, stress is not as intense as depression because stressors are more or less as a result of day-to-day activities. In the sense that, say you could be going to work, you experience some traffic jam which works you up. You're like, will I make it to work on time, or will I, just be in time? And stress can equally be good. There is good stress that motivates you to do something and achieve positive results. But on the flip side, look at depression. Depression in itself is a mental illness that causes you to have problems in your way of thinking, your way of feeling, and your way of behavior, okay? And it goes ahead to affect your moods, all right? So look at the difference here. It affects your thinking, feelings, and behavior. Whereas a stress is just but a simple impediment to your day-to-day activities, which you can easily bounce back and resume as you used to. So there's a difference between the two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you're depressed, you cannot easily bounce back.
Exactly. That's the point. Yeah. Yeah.
And you said that stress is normal and stress can be good, but does stress lead to depression?
Very true. Stress can lead to depression, especially the negative stress. Because before one gets to the level of depression, they must have gone through various stages for them to get to the level of depression. Because here's how it starts. You have a thought that is bothering you, that you really want to sort out. But for some reason, you're like, I'll do it later, I'll do it next time. Before you know it starts stressing you up. You start thinking about it more and more often than you should. If not handled, this stress now graduates to what we call worry. You're worried about what if this happens, or what if this doesn't happen. The worry, if unsorted, graduates now to what we call anxiety. Now, anxiety is a heightened level of worry. For no apparent reason, you just feel that something will not go right. You ascribe to what we call the Murphy's Law, which says that if anything can go wrong, it will go wrong. So you're always on guard, always keeping watch. What if this happens to be my worst fear? What if it comes to fruition, all right? Then gradually you go into, you start having panic attacks. And lastly, you get into what we call now full-blown depression, where you cannot cope quite well because your thinking, your feelings, or your behaviors have been interfered with. Yeah.
Okay, so we've known the clear difference between depression and stress, but what are do we have early signs that if this persists, then you could be on the road to depression? Yeah.
Yes, so if there are signs that we look at least for an onset of about 2 weeks to 2 months, if they are consistent, then we can say that possibly this person or that person is inching towards depression or is depressed already. One of the signs is, one, say, for no apparent reason, you lose pleasure in activities that you once found pleasure in. Say, for example, you used to love go swimming, you used to love golfing, you used to love, going to the gym. All of a sudden, you don't want to do it anymore. You just want to stay at home and keep yourself to yourself, all right? Or the other sign could be you take up some certain habit, you overindulge in it. You never did it as much, but then all of a sudden you are so much ingrained in it. Say something like watching the TV. You are so much into watching the TV to the extent that it gets your peers, relatives, friends, family worried. Say you watch the TV round the clock, 24 hours. Or if it's social media, you are always on TikTok or Facebook. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but it's more than usual. It's worrying because of the time you take in that. And the reason why people do that is because they want an escape route to the problem. They're feeling that I want to be heightened again emotionally, because depression causes you to feel low, sad, anxious, and just worried all the time, all right? So that's another sign of indulgence in certain activities, all right? The other sign that someone could be having depression is a change in their vegetative functions. Here I mean their sleeping patterns are disturbed. Either you sleep too much or you have very little sleep, you have insomnia. Also, you could have disturbed eating patterns. Either you indulge again in too much of eating, or you don't eat at all, or your diet is very funny. Either you eat once a whole meal very well, then you go another like 2 days without eating. All right? So look at these signs and you're like, possibly this person could be inching towards depression, or already they are in depression. Remember the demarcating factor here is the time frame. Anything between 2 weeks to 2 months that is prolonged and consistent, then you could say that these are cause for alarm. What
could be the reason behind the rising cases of mental illness, depression, and what causes this?
All right. Yeah, so different demographics have different causes as to what causes these mental health disorders or illnesses for that reason. Now, let me narrow our situation down to Kenya because that's what you can easily relate with, especially among the youth. Now, often than not, the youth that I deal with or interact with in my day-to-day activities often report issues parenting and issues their school life and their social life. All right. When I speak about parenting, these youths are predisposed to poor parenting styles, if I may say. Okay, say the parent is the kind who's authoritarian, the one that says this is how things are done and there's no discussion about it, there's no way about it. Or on the flip side, the parent is the absent type or the permissive type, that they're just, you want to do that, go ahead and do it. Or they're not as involved in their children's affairs as they should. The parent is needed in school, the parent is not there to, you know, to attend the school meeting. And so this child is left in some sort of, you know, guesswork. Do I follow my parent and what they're saying? Do I follow my peer and what they're saying? Or do I look at this role model who seems to, like, you know, fit that void that I have of the missing parent? And so before you know it, this child now starts experimenting. They end up taking some habits like gambling, like getting into addictions like pornography, like getting into crimes, substance abuse, all right? And so have this concoction and this young fellow is confused. And that explains why a lot of young people are, you know, having these mental health illnesses. All right. Yeah, so that's from where I see it. That's the major causing factor. The parents, the neglect that is there. There is the youths themselves among the social circles. They are not sure whom to follow or what to listen to.
Peer pressure.
Exactly, that's the word.
Does social media has anything to do with this?
It does. By now linking to, you know, the lifestyles of their peers and their idols. They want, I want to fit in, I want to be like X, Y, Z. But because I don't match up to, you know, the expectations or what they are, I'll do whatever is necessary for me to get to that level. Some even go to the extent of, you know, committing crimes for them to, you know, portray a certain lifestyle that is not really theirs. Okay,
you'll be telling us how to overcome that. But studies and reports, WHO reports that women are stressed or fall into depression. The number of women who are depressed are more than women, men, sorry.
Yes.
Why is this so? Why are women falling into depression more than men?
It's a very interesting metrics, if you ask me, because culturally or historically speaking, it's been known that, you know, women are more open, they're more expressive, they speak more whenever they have issues or problems. And now you have this statistic saying that, you know, women are more prone to depression as compared to men. Now, this is explained by the cultural differences again, okay? Because say for a man, if they have a problem, they will not speak about it as they should, okay? They'll want to hide it, keep it to themselves. They want to toughen up and be the men that, you know, they're supposed to be. But ladies, on the flip side, they will be expressive and speak about it, okay? And I guess that's why, statistically speaking, that's why I said that women are more prone to depression. Now, also link this to issues with the economy, okay? Where a majority of women in some certain countries, African countries, they're not as privileged as their male counterparts. And so this means that they have to hustle up and, you know, see that everything is fine in the home, everything is fine in the family. And this leads to them doing multiple jobs just for them to fit in that same space. Do we have levels of depression? And when I talk about this, is there a possibility of one developing some serious complications if untreated? All right, yeah, so with the levels of depression, of course, there are different ones. There is what we call mild depression, there is moderate, and then there is severe depression, where the mild depression is more or less just the difficulties in, say, coping, having emotional fluctuations. In the morning you're okay, in the evening you're not, you are in between, so it's not really as bad. Then moderate is having a mix of, going into isolation sometimes, then bouncing back again, you're okay. So it's almost as if people are trying to guess what really is the problem with person X, Y, Z. And now severe depression is the state where now you've gone now into full-blown, feeling guilty, feeling hopeless, feeling ashamed about yourself, that loss of interest in people and other activities, where you just want to be by yourself. You end up crying more than often for no apparent reason. Yeah.
Let's talk about attending to depression, okay, or patients or people are struggling with depression. What is the treatment like?
Yeah, so there are different treatments to depression, depending, of course, on the extremity of what the person is suffering from. Because as I said, there is mild, moderate, and there is severe. So some form of treatment might require only medication, and within no time the person is okay. Some might require both medication and therapy. Okay, that means they go for counseling sessions, that means they go for family therapy sessions, or other forms of therapies that will be helpful in helping the person bounce back to where they were initially. Okay, and some still might require only therapy. You don't need medication, you only need the therapy, and you'll be good.
How do we prevent depression?
Yeah, so the prevention is very key, and it starts from the self. Because the moment you are self-aware, you know your limitations, you know your boundaries, it's more or less easy to control yourself, okay? Because the moment, say for example, you know that this is my trigger, that if I am, say, in an argument, it causes me to be stressed and anxious, and possibly that will lead me to depression, then how do I buffer myself against the effects of being in a controversial situation, okay? Two, if, say, for example, I know that my trigger is alcohol or drugs, how do I minimize my drinking or my drug habits so that I am safe from the effects of what? Of being depressed. And three is to ask yourself this question: do I have a circle of support? Do I have family members who I can reach out to and who I can speak with so that I am assisted through this problem? Do I have a therapist who can understand me? At my workplace, do I have the HR who can listen to me, or is there a framework in my workplace that allows for me to share problems that are work-related and that can be, sorted out before they graduate to be even more bigger problems?
How do you ensure mental health when external factors are not favorable?
All right, it's true that there's some external factors that we cannot control. I'd like to quote one psychologist who is called Hans Selye, and he came up with a theory that speaks about having an internal and external locus of control. And this basically means that there are people that whenever situations happen to them, they believe that it's as a result of the external circumstances, that their life is domineered and directed by environmental circumstances. They have no control over it. Yet there are some who will have charge of their lives. That yes, there's a pandemic, yes, there's this outbreak, yes, there's this economic downtimes, but I'm still in charge of my life. So he advises this psychologist that the best form of approach or way to live is to be the driver of your life, regardless of the external circumstances. Because the moment you know your limits, as I mentioned earlier, the moment you know your boundaries, the moment you know your circle of influence and circle of support, it's much more easier to sail through the tough times as opposed to somebody who says, wacha tu ikue, let things be as they may, let the chips fall where they may. In that when problems come, you're left to the winds. But if you had a plan, you have your internal thought processes well cut out for you, it's much easier for you to buffer yourself when tough times come.
The fact that sometimes you may get stressed so that you achieve something, that is positive stress that you're talking about.
Yes.
But how much pressure are you supposed to give yourself? And where, as a psychologist, would you say, this is now the limit? This may cause, as much as you want to achieve something, beyond this point, it may cause harm to you.
Right, yeah. So it's good again to know the limits, as you rightly mentioned, because again you might end up overdoing it. I'd like to borrow the example of athletes who do the long distance marathons. They know that at a certain level, as they do the training, that the body is now tired, it's now fatigued. And it's interesting how the body is wired. It will always warn you or tell you that you are overdoing it. Say, for example, you're working out in the gym, you're starting to feel the lactic acid build and then it pains. Some can sustain 5 minutes more. Some can sustain 3 minutes more. Some just a minute more. Yeah. So it's being in tune to your body, knowing that if it gets to this level of physical activity, then I need to stop. Now, transfer this to positive stress, as I was hitting it to earlier. Do you compartmentalize whatever you want to achieve? Do you have these goals so that it doesn't overwhelm you? So that you know that, say, the year started, I want to achieve X, Y, Z by the end of the year. And you break it down and say that the first quarter, I want to achieve A, B, C, D, E, F. What am I doing towards it? I'm doing this and this and this towards it. And if you achieve it, that's a checkbox for you. If you don't achieve it, it's not a matter of now killing yourself and saying that I'm a failure, I've done the wrong thing. It's now coming back and asking yourself, I didn't achieve this. What could be the problem? Either this or this or this or that. And now that I didn't achieve it, am I still able to achieve it? Yes or no? If yes, what are the steps? If no, is it something that you would push forward to a later date? Or is it something that you would give another perspective or another angle? Yes.
Let's talk about mental health in general. You know, peer pressure, there are a lot of triggers, but then you need to be self-aware and cushion yourself from having all these issues worry you and get to a point where you falling into depression. So is it about self-love? How possible, or how can one take care of their mental health such that any trigger may not get them? I know you talked about self-awareness, but some things just come, some things happen. People have lost their livelihoods, people have lost their jobs. At the same time, you need your mental health in check. So how can one balance both? I've lost my job here, but at the same time, I need to take care of my mental health because it's very important at the same time.
All right. So I'd answer that by asking ourselves, by you now going back and asking yourself, so what is the primary goal for me being here? Why am I present anyway? All right? Because the moment you fail to answer the question why, it's difficult to address the how. Because the why should be the bigger picture. That, say, for example, why am I working? Why am I going to the office? Why am I being paid a salary? Or why do I have a family? What is the essence of having a family in the first place? If that indeed gets clear to you, it's easy to get to the next level of now, how do I take care of my work? How do I take care of my family? How do I take care of XYZ? Which is good and important. But then I'd like us to reverse the script and start with, in this matrix, who do you start with? Do you start with your family, your work, or yourself? Often they're not to make the mistake of starting with what we think is very important. Family, you know, work, friends, colleagues, and we end up feeling the pain. We end up pleasing people, okay? But if you start with yourself, that I am here for this reason. This is my passion, this is what I love doing. And I'm doing XYZ for me first. Be selfish for a while. Because if you don't take care of yourself first, trust you me, human beings are very good. Most of them are very good at manipulating you. You'll end up as a ragdoll that is tossed around. Whenever they need you, you're called. You're always present to handle people's problems and needs, you know? And you end up failing to balance your life as you hinted to. So always start with yourself, that I want this for myself. If it's a nice shoe that I've seen, I can equally go for it. I mean, it's meant for me. Who else is it meant for if not me? Treat yourself to the good things first. Make you the most important person first. Because you cannot make other people feel important if you don't feel important yourself. So you start by acknowledging yourself as the primary client or the primary go-to person whenever problems come. Then you cross to the next level, that is the family level. Do I have people in my family that I feel are important or should take care of me, or that I should take care of in turn? Then grow the circle. Do I have friends that, you know, I can equally support in turn, and who can equally support me in turn? So start with yourself.
So self family, friends, moving forward.
That's it.
And this will sort out the issue of feeling hopeless and worth of living, and you want to take your life.
Exactly.
So why am I here? Why am I at this workplace?
Yes,
Why
yes.
am I at home? What is important to me? Very, very important points there. We have to wrap it up, but I would really request you to leave us with a few tips or points on how we can, on a day-to-day basis, we can take care of our mental health. Yes.
All right, great. So one thing I'd recommend, and really works for most people, the moment you get up in the morning, at least have a schedule, have a routine for that day. Don't just wake up haphazardly that, you know, I'm out, it's a new day, you know, I'm going to tackle the day. But at least have a plan for your day, well thought out. If possible, diarize it so that you know that between 8 and 9, I'll be doing X, Y, Z. Between 10 and 11, I'll be doing this meeting. Or between noon to, say, late afternoon, I'll be in this meeting for my child or for whatever. Because the moment you diarize your day, you prioritize what's important. That means you won't fall into the trap of wanting to fit into people's schedules. And that's unfortunately what most of us do. But the moment you block out the necessary drama from your life, it's much easier to focus your energies towards what you want to achieve. Okay? So diarize your day or prioritize what you want to do. Number 2, practice habits that are mind benefiting. By this I mean habits like going to the gym, habits like taking up a sporting activity, habits like joining a book club for that reason, you know, something that stimulates your mind. Get a new activity that just sparks the magic in you, okay? Then 3, narrow that circle of influence that you have. Those friends that you call friends, until tragedy strikes, it's often said you'll know who was a true friend and who was not. So ask yourself, put yourself in this scenario. My mentor often asked me this. If, say, for example, you've been arrested and you need some cash bail, look at your contacts list. Of all the people that are there from A to Z, do you have 5 people whom you can call and they can come through for you regardless of the situation? Okay? And ask yourself also, are there 5 people in my life that I can call, that I can come through for them whenever they're in times of need? So have that circle of influence of peers or friends that mean well for you, that will stand with you through the thick and the thin. And always, 4th point, end your day well. By this I mean reflect on how the day was. If the things you achieved, give yourself a pat on the back. If it means taking yourself for a treat, then do it as much as you can. If there are things you didn't achieve, the day is over. You can't kill yourself. There's always a next day. I mean, you all have 24 hours. It all depends on how we factored in the time and how used it effectively and to what benefit.
Right. Okay, thank you so much. You have to wrap it up. But thank you for being part of this informative conversation.
Thank you so much.
I hope our viewers have benefited from this discussion. We are wrapping it up. Thank you for watching Your Health Show this Sunday evening. I'll see you again next week, same place, same time. Do enjoy the rest of your viewing, and God bless.